Committed to Miramar is a weekly radio talk show hosted by Commissioner Darlene Riggs and longtime Miramarian Sherry Abden. The purpose of Committed to Miramar is to keep you in tune with what's happening in the beautiful city of Miramar, covering topics from healthcare, entertainment, employment, to education, politics, and much more. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. to Radio Union Latina USA. Use hashtag Committed to Miramar.
Hello, Miramarians. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs, Commissioner of the beautiful city of Miramar, and welcome to Committed to Miramar.
Hello, Miramar. I am your co-host, Sherry Abden, longtime resident of Miramar. A couple of weeks ago, we educated you on your health and resources available to you right here in Miramar. Last week, we had our very own Chief of Police, Chief Dexter Williams, speaking to you about your safety in the beautiful city of Miramar. And today, we are going to cover financial health.
Absolutely. Financial health is such an important piece to having a good quality of life, which everyone knows that's what I'm about. My job as commissioner is to help you improve your quality of life. You could have all of your physical needs met, be free from any kind of illness, and be safe in your home, in your community, like we talked last week, but not have what any of us would define as a good quality of life if you are struggling financially. So today we are going to have a lot of fun and educate you on how to be financially healthy. Having that financial freedom and being financially healthy allows you that peace of mind and knowing you have some stability in case of an emergency. We have to prepare ourselves for that. So we have some very, very special guests with us today who are experts in this arena. It's not me. That much we've established. Healthcare is my thing. Credit, not so much. So Miramarians, please help me in welcoming to Committed to Miramar, President and CEO of Buildworth Strategies, BWS, Justo Lobos. Yeah. But gentlemen, welcome to Committed to Miramar. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Buildworth Strategies. I'm excited, and I told you a little bit of my story, and we're going to use me as an example today because I've been through some madness. Welcome to Committed to Miramar.
First off, thank you so much for having us. My name is Justo Lobos. I'm the president and CEO of Buildworth Strategies. Well, I guess I'll go first with regards to a little bit of our background. My background too, and then I guess Berto will go ahead and just share. Obviously this is something that I've been really passionate about. Obviously knowing that credit pretty much in a sense, it's something that for the most part everybody's going to need. For me personally, I've gone through my own endeavors, and being in the realm of credit now, being a business owner for the last 5 years, I have been the owner of Buildworth Strategies for the last 3. I did have, and going backwards from today's date, I was actually a partner on another company called Redemption Credit Education. And this actually has morphed into what we're at today. Right now, we do have several locations in Miami Gardens, and also servicing the area of Miramar. And we have 3 offices. We have a staff. We have a team, and we help a little bit over 1,000 clients right now active in the program. Prior to actually having the credit repair company, actually I worked in banking, so I've had financial experience coming from banking. I was a business banker for Bank of America for 6 years.
Excellent.
So I did that for a little bit. I did help clients with regards to business clients with business lines of credits, business credit cards, financials, things of that nature. So I've had some experience on that. And
as you talk, I'm thinking about your poor wife. You don't get to speak anything, do you? Poor thing.
I'm going to give her my headset.
You got to hide it.
So, yeah, absolutely, and then this is where actually me and Alberto, we actually used to work together for a company called Loyalty Mortgage many years before that, and we worked there for almost 6 years. We were partners, and we did mortgages, so we were mortgage brokers.
You're like the full circle, because usually folks get into, oh my goodness, my credit when they're buying a car or a house.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, so I told you were the experts. I'm just a victim over here.
Amen.
Well, but it's like Justo said, just to give a little bit about myself. Again, thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, to give a little bit about myself, like he mentioned, I come also from the background of mortgages.
Yeah.
We were partners in a mortgage company for about 6-7 years before the big meltdown. Once the meltdown came down, you went to business banking. I went elsewhere. While doing mortgages already, we were, we had to help certain clients with some credit issues.
Absolutely.
So we actually got introduced to it, really early. Even though we went out to do other things, we fell back in it.
And so you had a passion for it. I love when you're called to do something and you jump into it and you become expert at it. And now you're helping thousands of people. That's awesome. That's what it's about.
Right. At the end of the day, we don't have the millions to do a fund or something like that. So this is how we feel that we're giving back.
You help the rest of us get the millions.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say too, for the most part, you could never stop learning. I think that's one of the key components, of growth. That's one thing for us. I think we learn something new every single day. So
every week,
even in credit, it's constant research, is constant, videos, audios, books, and I think that's also the passion and the drive that we have.
Excellent.
To try to find more.
Yep.
What sets you apart from the competitors?
From the bunch? Well, what can I tell you? Part of what sets us apart is, number one, the passion that we have.
Excellent.
I don't think everybody has the same passion, so unless you're passionate for something, you're not going to do it with the same love. What fills me, aside from my pockets, is obviously, feeling the transparency and when I'm able to help somebody.
Keywords, transparency, because
you know what I'm saying?
We want to know we come to someone, number one, their intentions are good, and they're going to tell us the truth. Even if it's, bad news, the facts are the facts.
Right.
What's my credit? Tell me what it is, because if not, then I go to buy that house or buy that car and then I find out the truth.
Correct.
So I love that transparency is key, and that credibility too. So
also, I would
ratings.
say the knowledge. I mean, we have extensive hours of legwork, of books, seminars, just experiences. Me personally, I've been doing it for a little bit over 14 years. Justo has been actually doing it for like 16 or 17, something like that. So again, the knowledge itself, knowing how to attack or how to go about certain things is what sets us apart.
To translate,
you mentioned seminars. Do you ever target college kids? Because I find that they're the ones who really need the guidance.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that because the earlier the better.
Yes.
One thing and something that we've spoken in the past is trying to create a curriculum around educating students, and basically that's one thing that I felt that even when I was in banking, we had FIU and Miami-Dade close to us when I was in Doral, and a lot of the guidance that I used to give, a lot of time that I used to spend, it was really just sitting down with that young individual that's kind of like lost. They're kind of hesitant. They're scared to do I apply for this credit card, and it's just really guiding them, giving them the steps and the tools on how to prevent and how to not make mistakes.
Right. And
which that's exactly what we're looking to do. Hopefully one day we will enter the school system. That's something that we've spoken in the past. That's something that we're trying to develop.
Forward to.
And we need to create something for that, because at the end, that's our future.
Absolutely, and they definitely need to be safeguarded by the companies that are making it seem so easy.
Absolutely.
What's the age limit that you can open a credit card? It's 18, correct?
18. You have
18.
My son receives stuff in the mail, and he's 14. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, there has to be something against it.
He have,
I'm thinking, he doesn't have a job, no.
Does he have the same name as your husband?
Yes, he does. I figured that's what it is. He's a junior.
There you go.
He's
that's
a
why.
junior. I thought so too, because I'm thinking there has to be, but they can't tell that he's.
Well, there's actually, and this is where the misconception that a lot of people feel that just with a social, the bureaus are able to identify you, but it doesn't really work like that.
No.
Especially depending on the platform where you're actually retrieving information, like a credit monitoring or when you're going to a bank. It's very different on how they obtain the information, but for the most part, you're going to need a couple of pieces of information. And this is where I kind of like tell people, did you know that 1 out of 5 American has a discrepancy so large that could prevent them from actually obtaining a loan or even they're going to be paying high interest rates because of the discrepancies that they're actually being reported. So in a sense, I feel like it's my moral obligation to fight for the consumer, be there by them, and basically just educate them and walk them through the process of having healthy credit, because at the end, you don't know what you have unless you're actually monitoring and you have the information and the knowledge on how to even read what's in front of you.
I love how you know your stuff, because you knew the question to ask even before I tell you he's a junior. And I figured, that just goes to show you know your stuff. I love that.
Knowledge and experience. That's where that comes from.
And that speaks volume, because I was thinking, wait a minute, you're 14 years old. You don't have a job. Why would they send you, and give you the opportunity to open a credit line? How is it going to get paid? And our young folks, they don't think about that aspect.
Right.
1 month later, 30 days later, getting that bill.
And that's one of the reasons that I feel personally that why we need to tap into the school system, because me personally, just to let everybody know, I'm like $100,000 in debt of student loans.
Oh, student loans.
Just to let everybody know, to throw myself out there.
Yeah.
So, but why? Because I was never educated on this. I didn't even know about credit until I was already in the mix when I got into college. If I would have somebody who would have been able to explain it prior to me graduating, I promise you I would have made better decisions.
And walk you through it. Same thing with me, but I was always afraid of owing. So I was always hesitant to borrow. So I think that's why I didn't get in trouble. But no one ever taught me the importance of having good credit. And when I started to establish credit, I still didn't understand how important it was, and I did some things for family members that I shouldn't have done.
Right.
So that's another thing too. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the importance of having healthy credit, establishing credit. So those are some of the things coming up. But I love your credibility.
I wanted to add something, and before we go ahead into that next topic, because something else too additional to that, Ms. Riggs, if you have, which you can, add somebody under the age of 18 as an authorized user onto your credit cards, which are going to include personal information like your name, your last name, social address, and stuff like that, then if that has happened, then you are going to get creditors that are going to solicit you because that information is already out there.
Right.
What do you mean in the sense of, for example, when my son is old enough, adding him to my cards to help him establish credit?
Adding him now.
Oh, at 14?
Yeah.
So that would help him establish credit?
Absolutely.
Okay, but not actually giving him the credit card.
Right.
my oldest one probably wouldn't do anything with it, but my second one, my 9-year-old, he would max that thing out in a minute.
Which is, I call it like, for my young people, it's kind of like the training wheels. It's not for them to have their own credit cards, but in a sense, you're there monitoring. So you adding your son that's younger and just sitting down with them and just going over the budget sheets, going over the transaction history, looking over the interest rates, and seeing exactly what you're purchasing and why you're purchasing it. Because at the end, you don't want to get into a credit card as a means, as a backup, and you're not going to go ahead and take on a credit card, and at the end, it's like you're going to overindulge yourself, so you're going to overspend more than what you're earning. Especially if you're in school, there's a certain amount of limits that you should have, and there's certain tools, or I would say information that you should provide to the creditor, such as don't increase my line unless I request it. Because guess what? Your income should meet the limit on that.
I have a question on that in a minute. So we'll be right back, and we'll continue this conversation with number one, the importance of healthy credit, and then we'll get into the how to build the credit. There's so much to talk about, and this is such an important topic. So stay tuned with Committed to Miramar. We'll be right back.
Unilatina International College with campus in Miramar, Florida is a boutique college with an applied, cutting-edge holistic education model. Business, tourism, and communication students not only develop their field intellectual skills, but are also empowered to become holistic professionals and human beings through yoga, self-empowerment, holistic human development courses, and more. Sign up to become a holistic professional at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
Committed to Miramar, committed to our community. It's right here in Miramar.
Welcome back to Committed to Miramar. So we're going to pick up where we left off. So we were talking about the importance of healthy credit line. So let's start from the beginning, building that credit. So I just learned something. I can add my 14-year-old to my credit line, but not give him a credit card.
Correct.
So that I can help him establish credit. Because once he's 18, I can imagine that's a bit late if I'm sending him to college, giving him that $500 limit type of thing. So that's good to know.
Not only that, just to add to that, remember, when he turns 18, you're going to want him to have a car.
Absolutely.
So guess what? You're going to have to co-sign. If he defaults, it's on you.
That's true.
Student loans, you're going to have to co-sign.
Yes.
So if he defaults again, it's on you. So now, by setting him up the right way from the get, then you're making sure that when he reaches the age where he's actually going to need credit, he has his own credit to build on, to go by.
Excellent. So he doesn't have to chime on.
If I could interject, I had the opposite problem. I'm a cash payer.
Cash.
No.
And I learned the importance of credit.
Yeah.
I was at one point a cash payer. I was a guy that, you know what? Forget credit. I don't need that. I got to pay everything cash. What for?
Exactly.
Until I got into family, kids. I wanted the house. I wanted the car. I wanted this.
I was about to say, how did you guys do with all of that?
Exactly.
I'm a plastic. Terrible, but true. So that's excellent. Any other way to build credit? So this is good to know early on. So let's talk about building the credit a little bit more, and then we'll get into the how to not tarnish the good credit. Right. So any other ideas you can or advice on how to build credit for the first time?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I would say for the most part, the number one key factor in building credit is knowing how credit works.
Right.
Because you can't really build something off nothing. So let's go over a few key points here. There's actually
there's a formula so people understand. Credit is a formula. It's an algorithm.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Okay, so
we're talking about the FICO?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Basically,
is it FICO or FICO?
FICO.
Okay,
FICO.
You see?
It's the Fair Isaac Corporation. So the CO, it stands for corporation.
Okay.
They were established back in 1956 by Fair and Isaac, and they created this algorithm. So basically, for what is credit? Credit's just a determining factor for creditors to see the type of risk that they're going to run with a consumer. Mm-hmm. And again, depending on where your scores range, which they could range from a 350 all the way to an 850. Mm-hmm. The higher the score, the less of a risk. The lower the score, the higher the risk. The higher the rates. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, this FICO scoring platform is created at 5 different key points. The biggest one is called payment history, and it takes 35% of your overall credit score. So the number one way to actually build credit when you have access to it, and again, remember this always, that's what I always told my students, not having any credit is good credit. And why? Because there's no blemish.
Right.
So
we don't know whether you're a risk or not.
Correct.
Versus knowing for sure you're a risk.
Exactly.
That's true. That makes a lot of sense.
So for me, the number one thing is once you have eligibility to apply for a credit card, make payments on time. Because that's really what credit is the ability to make payments over a period of time. And on time.
Let's talk about a real life example. I was telling you earlier, I was experiencing something yesterday. I promise you, it's so funny. We're doing the show today, and I went through this yesterday. So long story short, found out that someone called my Kohl's card company and changed the address, the phone number, the email address, and purchased some things under my Kohl's card since April. This was happening, and I never received a bill because they changed the address. So then there were 2 late payments that occurred, late fees, and they reported this to the credit bureau under my social. So after this show, we're going to spend some time together so you can help me fix this.
For sure.
So
we got you, girl. Don't worry.
Thank you. But you were telling me I should file a police report. I wasn't planning on doing that because when I spoke with the folks at Kohl's, they told me that they would open an investigation, send me some things to sign. I figure, okay. But I told them the most important aspect of it for me is to make sure that the credit bureau know that this wasn't me. They need to fix whatever damage that they've made. So tell me about that. How bad is this?
At the end, for me, anything that's negative in your credit, and I thank God that, there is rules and regulations. There's actually this act that was passed back in 1971, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And this act was passed in order to protect us consumers. So that act states that everything in your credit has to be verifiable, accurate, and complete. And if it's not, it has to be deleted or it has to be corrected. When I mentioned about the police report, well, before we go ahead and touch on that, one component that I'm going to highly encourage the listeners that are actually listening to the audio now, have a credit monitoring system.
Yeah.
Have something, as simple. I have personally Credit Karma. I don't highly encourage everyone to just, use that, because you're going to be limited. You're not going to have access to Experian. So you need a comprehensive credit reporting platform, such as like Credit Check Total, Privacy Guard, MyFICO.com.
There's several out there that are really good as well.
And inexpensive?
They range anywhere from $9 to $45 a month.
Okay, I can do the 9. The 9.
What you're referring to, the 9 is Privacy Guard, and the only difference between that and it goes up all the way to $49.95, which is myfico.com, is that myfico, and keep in mind, guys, when we're talking about the FICO scoring platform, not every credit monitoring offers that.
Right. Not everybody gives you FICO scores.
Yes.
Okay. But remember, the scoring model is basically the formula that is used to calculate our scores. Okay, different companies use different formulas.
Credit Karma gives me both, so I'm missing one credit.
You're running on a Vantage 3.0 platform. It's not a FICO.
It's not a FICO score.
You're not speaking English.
Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, which are some of the most popular free platforms out there. They use what is called the Vantage 3.0 scoring module, which is the formula that they use is different from a FICO formula.
So instead of having 5 tiers, it has 6.
Right.
So that 6 influences the score. So if you're looking to try to get something as close as you can to what the banks, first off, no consumer has access to these scores, by the way. So you don't have access to what car dealerships use, what banks use, what mortgage companies use. That's something that they have accessible to them.
But for different niches.
So that's good to know, because I figured what I see is what they see.
No, absolutely
never.
So they could see a higher or lower score?
And the difference is because of the amount of information that's accessible to them.
Right.
You see, if you go into like a Privacy Guard, which is a credit monitoring provider, it's limited up to 2 years.
Right.
And now if you go into a mortgage company, they might have access up to 7 years of information, which influences the score, because within the FICO, the 5 tiers is payment history, 35. 30% is based on the debt ratio, which is limits versus balances on your credit cards. We also have history, which is 15%. We have 10%, which is based on mixture of credit. And we also have inquiries, which is an additional 10%, which complete the whole 100.
Okay.
Yeah. So depending on, let's say, 15%, which is history, and if you only have access to 2 years, when a bank accesses your credit score, then they have 7 or let's say 10 years,
right?
Guess what? You're going to have more history, so your scores is going to range. It's going to be different.
It's going to be different.
You know, since we're on that topic, something just came to my mind. So years ago, and I believe I called you and told you this, and you said, no, you shouldn't have done that. I had so many cards, and I just started closing them because I couldn't keep track. And I think that messed me up because my credit went down.
Because remember what Justo said, the second biggest part of that formula is the availability of funds, the debt ratio. So being that you're taking away, from the available funds that you have on credit cards, then obviously your credit score is going to take a hit.
And the history thing might have made a difference too, because some of those cards were old.
Absolutely.
So then you can't see them at all. What happens if I reopen them?
It's going to start from scratch.
Man. But nobody told me this. Had I known, I wouldn't have closed them.
You know what I tell people, and this is obviously something really important. Since 15% of your credit's based on history and 30% is based on limits versus balances. So what I tell people is I want to have the highest limits possible, because that's going to put you in a different pool. It's going to put you in a different position compared to other individuals.
Right.
So when you cut a credit card off that you've had for 5-6 years, and by the way, a good history amount of time is 9 to 11
years.
So if that credit card was 5-7 years and you closed it, you just lost.
I didn't know that.
Of that card.
I know this. Can I argue this? No. But you mentioned something else that I think is important too. So the limit versus balance.
Yeah.
So it's good when your credit card company sends you something and say they can increase your limit. So go ahead and do that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it
did do that
depends.
recently. I hope it's a good thing.
No, it's a great thing.
It's great, yeah.
I say it depends because there's certain creditors. And again, in 2007, when me and Berto, we were working for the mortgage company and the economy fell, I lost a lot. He lost a lot. And then for us to have to rebuild back, we had to start off with cards that came with high interest rates, came with annual fees, came with monthly service fees.
Fully secure cards.
And you know what? Now we have cards that, and not to, go into too much of that, I have a Platinum American Express, or I have Discover, and I have all these wonderful cards that now come with a lot of benefits or rewards. But you know what? I have not canceled the first beginner cards that I had to take. And one of them, like Care Credit, Credit One Bank. Credit One Bank offers me an increase of my line with a charge. And you know what? I don't like. So you know what? I don't accept that. But now with my Capital One, I just told Berto.
Yeah.
Well, first off, my Discover just went up $2,000, and my Best Buy credit card.
Best Buy went up another four.
But they would have to tell you this in advance, right? The fee. For example, who was this? Amazon.
Yes,
Amazon just gave me that option to double. So
there was no fee though, because Amazon. I don't think Amazon charges.
Normally, you're gonna get fees mostly on secure credit cards, products.
Secure products.
Okay.
Every beginner card.
Right.
Yeah.
So everybody can understand a secure card is basically when you're putting, let's say, $200 down
as a collateral,
and you're getting your same $200 back in credit.
Yep.
That's a fully secured credit card.
Is that for folks with really, really bad credit?
Yes. That's
you have to be a high risk.
Those for the high riskers. That's how we get them started. You understand?
Because that doesn't make sense. I was thinking, why would I do that? But then if I'm trying to build the credit, that makes sense.
Right.
Rule of thumb too, and since we're talking about limits versus balances, try to maintain your accounts below 30% utilization. I tell people that's like the magic number.
That's
below 30%.
Below 30%.
Okay. I received something recently. My goodness, it might have been Chase, where no, it was Credit Karma sent me something saying, yes, I'm going above that 30%. So see, they're free and they give me little heads up.
I like Credit Karma. Don't get me wrong. I have Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, Privacy Guard, Credit Check Total.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I use all of them. I have all the free ones and the ones.
You pay more than $45 a month.
Yeah, I do.
But is that the thing is, since we do this for a living, I always like to compare and I always want to be that. I want to be the educator. If I have not done it for myself, I don't expect for me to do it for somebody else.
I agree. I told somebody that just today. The best way to learn is to experience it yourself. Yeah. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back with Committed to Miramar.
Let's do it.
Unilatina International College with campus in Miramar, Florida is a boutique college with focus on entrepreneurship. UIC offers associate and bachelor degree programs in business, tourism, and communications and media. Associate degree students develop their business plan while studying at UIC. Dream, learn, and grow. Join now our business incubator. Learn more at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
Committed to Miramar, committed to our community. It's right here in Miramar.
Welcome back to Committed to Miramar. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs, and we are going to continue where we left off. However, before we do that, I want our special guests to let you know how to get a hold of them. Several contact numbers, address, tweet, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, send a bird. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, basically,
start off with the office.
Yeah. Well, you guys can go ahead and contact our office. Our number is 855-532-8453, option 1. Okay. Also, our address, our physical address for those in the near area is 5911 Northwest 173rd Drive, Suite 18, Miami, Florida 33015.
So we offer a free credit evaluation. Before anything, the first thing that we need to do is make sure that the person's going to be a good fit for the service. So anybody that's listening, if you have not had a sit down with a credit analyst, go ahead and contact us, because what we're going to to go ahead and do is we're going to go through a really in-depth conversation, starting from the top of your credit report. We're going to show you, we're going to talk to you about the credit formula. We're going to talk to you about the potential of increase. We're going to talk to you about the type of information that can be deleted, what information you could go ahead and add on. So we're going to share so much value with you that even if you, in a sense, are not deciding to move forward, but at least you took that information. On average, a client of ours that does not enroll in our services, just with the information that we share with them, could potentially increase their own scores by 45 to 55 points. Yeah. That's just because there's just so much fat, I call it, in the credit report that could be turned into muscle, that could be turned into use. And I think that's where the education comes in.
Absolutely. I love that about you, because you're all about the community and making the community healthy. I remember years ago when I called you, you gave me some advice, and I followed that, and that alone helped me increase my score. And some things we can do ourselves, but being the expert, you can help us maintain it long term, because it's not something that you want to do now and forget about it. Correct. Like you said, we need to monitor it. I agree with that. I'm bad, so after the show we're going to spend some time.
I'm going to start keeping tabs on you.
You need to, because we put it at the back burner again, unless we're trying to buy something where we need the credit, we forget about it. So it's something that we have to think about all the time, and at least invest in something monthly, letting us know, okay, because now I have a mess I need to deal with this whole calls, and I need to pull my other everything to find out, okay, do I own a house somewhere that I didn't sign off on?
Yep.
I'll go claim it.
For sure.
I'll go claim it, so hopefully there's some equity in it.
I always tell people this, these two things. The first one is, and for the monitoring of your credit, you can't improve on something you don't measure. Yeah. So you need a measuring tool. And the second thing is always best to want it and not need it.
Not need it.
Than to really want it and you can't have it.
To need it and not have it. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
It's a lack of preparation, I would say. And then, obviously, if you have certain goals. Going back to...
let me go ahead and provide you guys with our social media. Aside, so
check us out.
Obviously, you could go to our website, which is www.buildworthstrategies.com. You can request information on there.
There's a lot of information. We even have blogs in there. A lot of blogs.
We also have two YouTube channels. First one being J Lobos, where is my good friend here, Mr. Villalobos, giving you guys the inside. And then we have Keeping It Real with Credit, which is basically another YouTube channel where we bring awareness to the community. We're also on Facebook at Buildworth Strategies, and on Instagram you guys can go to J Lobos channel or A_game for life.
Or you could also check us out on You versus Credit on the Instagram as well. Yeah. So all of these channels, all of them are different. The website has certain blogs and informational tips in there as well. Yeah. The YouTube, the Keeping It Real with Credit on YouTube, it has a lot of just education. And we literally volunteer free information. Yeah. And also my channel, which is the J Lobos, is a transparency in the way I operate on a day-to-day basis as a business owner, and what I do with my either employees, and also how I address certain concerns through clients. So clients are able to see exactly what we're about.
Excellent. So there's so many ways to get a hold of you. Thank you so much for sharing, because as we listen, we want our audience to be able to get a hold of you to get this done. Like we said at the beginning, everybody needs this. Unless you're about to go. Listen,
the way that I tell, even then you got to prepare. The way that I like to tell my guys. This is for everybody and anybody, regardless of what you do, who you are, how much you make, doesn't matter.
And we saw even at age 14, you should start thinking about this. And as parents, we should make sure that our children, help them build that little bit of credit now. So now I'm going to go ahead and help my 14-year-old do that. It's so funny. My 9-year-old will be like, "What about me?"
We could also work with
I guess it really is. It's never too early. I love that.
I have a question. If a person go ahead and pay off some of the debts, such as a car, a home, does that help to establish the credit more?
Well, I'm going to tell you, It depends.
Yeah.
And not only that, it depends because what happens is we're talking about different types of accounts, right? So remember that 10% is based on mixture of credit. 3 types of accounts are considered in that mixture. First off is mortgages. We have installment accounts, which are term loans, car loans, student loans. And we also have credit cards, either secured or unsecured.
Right.
So if I go ahead and I decide, if I have an option, people have asked me, Justo, I came across this much amount of money, I want to pay off my car. What do you suggest? And then I look at their credit report and they're like at 70% utilization. My number one question is, what is the interest rate of that vehicle? And second off, what is the purpose of this? So in a sense, the type of business that we kind of run is goal oriented.
Right.
So what is the objective here?
What is your
because
goal?
You want to reduce the amount of payments because of the interest rate, or is it because maybe you want to boost your credit scores? If you're talking about boosting credit scores, I would literally focus on paying off those credit cards, because by doing that, I reduce the utilization, and in turn, it's 30% of my credit. Compared to if I pay off a car loan, that car loan falls into the category of a 10%.
Right.
So which one am I having more of an impact, the car loan or the credit card?
Well, I did not know that. Oh my goodness! And we should call our friends and ask sometime, because I just did that.
Hey.
My husband retired, and we were leasing our cars, and we paid them off, and we just paid stuff off. We didn't even know there was a proper way to do that.
That's good. If you have the means, pay it off. You're good. You can't go wrong with paying off.
I want to increase my credit score.
Because depending on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to actually get your scores to the 700s because you want to buy a house, then it's in your best interest.
I wanted 850.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if that's the point, then you can just bring down the utilization on all your cards instead of paying down that vehicle, because that's going to create a higher impact on your credit scores than pay the vehicle.
Wow, see, I did not know that. We just went, wow. See, there's a smarter way to do it. And you're my friend. What kind of friend are you? Hey. You didn't even tell me.
Credit is...
You've been busy.
I always say we always have to. This is why sitting down, analyzing it. We have to compare apples to apples. I always like to ask clients, what their goals, what the objectives are. Why do you want to go ahead and do that? Why do you want to obtain that? Because if we don't set that real expectation from the beginning, then we're pretty much putting ourselves in a position of failure.
Correct.
So that's the number one thing.
Does the department store card matter?
They're just as equivalent as a regular retail bank, as a regular commercial bank. It falls under the same algorithm.
Right. So store credit cards falls into the revolving side of it. So it's seen as a regular credit card.
Okay, and that's probably what's killing us. We have every department store card.
Right. Now, keep in mind, this is the thing. Bank cards opposed to department store cards. Department store cards have really high interest rates. Bank cards have better interest rates. So
that's true, and you don't get the 5% back when
that also
gas
as
or
a matter
buy
of
groceries.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, because these questions are really good questions.
Yes.
And I think some of them have already been addressed as part of our channels.
Right.
So if you guys, listeners that are out there, these questions are great, but there's over 30, 40 questions that are not going to get asked today.
Right.
That people might be, intrigued about. Check out the channels, because they're full of information. As a matter of fact, we did one, credit cards versus
banks versus retail credit cards. We have it on our blog.
We did a video on that.
That's great.
And the
I
differences,
saw a few of them.
rates and everything. Yeah.
You guys have a lot of fun.
Always.
I love it.
That's awesome. My goodness, I'm learning so much, and I feel like had somebody told me, I would have never experienced some of the bad stuff that I've experienced. And even, something as minute as closing a card, I never even thought that it would impact. If anything, I thought it would be a good thing. Right. And I closed some that I've had since I was, in my early 20s that probably I shouldn't have, because I just had too many.
You lost a bunch of history on that.
She lost 2 years.
It goes into that 15% that Justo talked about.
Yes, I love him. He says I lost 2 years. You're so right.
I'm going to tell you something. Over there for the listeners, obviously out there, and they're still contemplating that. Some people might say, "Well, you know what? I didn't really like this card, or this card really charges me. This annual fee is too high, or whatever." So, one thing, preparation, right? So, what you're gonna do, if that's gonna be the case, you've made up your mind, you don't want that card. There's a monthly fee or whatever it is. Work on another card to supplement the limit on that one. So before you cancel that one and you decrease on scores, leverage that card, apply for a higher limit if you have not done so. Mm-hmm. If you get up to that limit of that card, 500, 1,000, whatever that is, and then you let that card go, the impact that you're going to have is not going to be as high as it would have without having any line increases.
Right.
Excellent. And see, I wish, and it sounds like something we need to be educated on ongoing. It's not something within the hour we're going to be able to answer every question. I love the podcast that you have to educate on every little topic. Probably every time you get a question that doesn't have a podcast.
Yeah, exactly what we try to go for everything. Medical bill, since you're in the medical field. So, that's a big one.
Those, they don't report on your credit, those, right? Like, let's say you go to the hospital, you have your co-payment and you say, okay, bill me. They cannot report those, right?
Unless it goes into a collection.
Yeah. Ew. Yeah. Unless you don't address that bill when the hospital has it. There's called the HIPAA, which the HIPAA basically protects our personal information. So what happens is that the hospital cannot collect directly. So they have to sell the debt to a third party, which is the collection agency.
So then they in turn can send you to the credit bureau.
Try to collect.
Like Justo said, remember, since the medical field is regulated by HIPAA, the information that medical office or hospital can share with the collection company is going to be very limited, because remember, HIPAA protects our personal information as patients,
our medical records and things like that.
So we already know for a fact that whatever information that medical office shared with the collection company was very limited.
And I know they're also regulated, because years ago I received a letter from our local hospital saying certain charts were breached, and they gave me 3 years of credit monitoring because of that breach. And
it's like similar to what happened to Equifax not too long ago.
143 million people were breached through Equifax.
So they offered. I did see that on the media.
Yep.
We did a video on that.
And with way back then with this hospital, when I received the 3 years of credit monitoring, I honestly didn't. I was like, oh, thank you, but I never really took advantage of it. Yeah. So I would advise people, take advantage of it and take control.
Not only that, I mean, remember, if this was, again, that was with the hospital, so not to say that because of that you're going through what you went through yesterday, but again, certain things like these happen. Yeah. Like, that was years ago, and you never know who got your information.
But it turned out someone did, because it turned out that someone got a hold of my credit cards and paid their electricity. They paid their bills. When we come back, so there's a couple of things that are floating through my mind in a few minutes. So one thing that happened to me that I want to cover and educate the community on how to be careful and not sharing your information. What happened with the hospital was that's out of my control.
Right.
But I'm one of those, I'm speaking to myself, I need to not be so quick to give folks my social. Yeah. So when is it that we can go ahead and do it? Who can we trust? Who can we not trust? There's so many different pieces of that puzzle, avenues, where even yesterday when I was talking to those folks, she asked me for my social. I said, well, now I'm hesitant to give it to you because, I don't even know who you are.
Right.
So I said, I'll give you the last 4 digits. So is that okay, with the last 4 digits versus my entire social? And they should be able to do what they need to do with just the last 4 digits.
Depends on what you're doing, but you need to do your due diligence. I always highly encourage people, do your homework first before anything. Go online, double check, triple check, find out who they are. There's so many ways on how to even find out information like that.
I'm not sharing my social anymore, because so many things have happened to me, and I think back, we're talking 10 years ago when I've been dealing with this madness. So when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay tuned with Committed to Miramar. We'll be right back.
Uni Latina International College offers an English as a second language program for international students. UIC's high qualified ESL teachers help students develop and master the English speaking and comprehension skills needed for both work and pleasure. Our ESL program also focuses on cultural adaptation through fun field trips and cultural experiences. Start your journey today at unilatina.edu/ESL or call 954-60 607-4344.
Committed to Miramar. Live, work, and play. It's right here in Miramar.
Committed to Miramar. Live, work, and play. It's right here in Miramar.
Unilatina International College with a campus in Miramar, Florida, is a boutique college with an applied, cutting-edge holistic education model. Business, tourism, and communication students not only develop their field intellectual skills, but also are empowered to become holistic professionals through yoga, self-empowerment, Tai Chi courses, and more. Sign up to become a holistic professional at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
Welcome back to Committed to Miramar, and we are here with President and CEO of Buildworth Strategies, Justo Villalobos. Not too bad.
You got it really
Alberto
good.
Gomez. Villalobos. Beautiful. And my goodness, gentlemen, we have learned so much. So we will continue with our conversation because we still have a couple more important topics to cover. And I have so many questions. So after the show.
I have one. I want to know if you could obtain a credit card without giving the Social Security.
If you walk into a store, for the most part, they're going to require that.
Right.
Now, my suggestion would be if you don't feel comfortable giving it to somebody in front of you, then just go through their online. So if you want to apply at the Macy's, instead of giving it to a physical person, just go to Macy's.com and apply for the credit card directly. This way, you're not sharing it directly with somebody who you don't know. It's going straight from the site. That's the best way to do it.
But eventually, they will need it.
Yeah, you will need a social because that's the only way that they'll be able to link it to you personally.
Yeah.
Okay. And know whether you're credible.
Right. And obviously, make sure that, that you're worthy.
Whether you get that $500 limit or that $10,000 limit.
Or even to add on to that, though, because there's sometimes too, we humans make mistakes, right? So if you apply for a credit card, even if you're doing it through online, and you make a mistake on a number, the creditor might require a copy of your social and a copy of your address verification, a copy of your ID, additional to the application before
extending the credit.
Awesome.
So that's
great question, Sherry.
Well,
keep them coming.
She's just not sharing her madness. Not sharing I've been a victim.
Again, keep in mind, guys, that we have pretty much an answer for every question out there. Go to our YouTube. We're keeping it real to the J Lobos. We have tons of material, videos.
And even if we can't, or we don't have a video for it, we love the challenge of research. Always. And by the way, we also have an in-house attorney that we work with. He's a consumer attorney. That guy is notorious for closing down collection agencies.
The guy's a killer.
Just to let you know that.
This guy is
our new best friend.
Help Ray.
Yes.
Ray is basically the person
our marketing guy.
Our marketing guy, the one you see in the videos. Ray had a bit of a situation where this gentleman, our attorney, pretty much had to close down that collection company, and that's how we came about. Yeah. That's how everything developed. The whole channel, the YouTube channel. Ray wanted to share his story. That's how everything started. Yeah. He brought us into the mix because he worked with us previously. So
what happened was with Ray, he ended up paying a collection to a collection agency that was not legit.
Right.
So
it was some people working in the back of a house, just at a patio here in Dania Beach.
So when he got the attorney involved, the headquarter of that company was somewhere like in North Carolina, somewhere over there, Virginia, and the attorney followed the trail. They were able to finally find that company. They ended up suing that company, and the company ended up closing down because of things that they were not allowed to do. Some people are kind of intimidated. So if you're out there and you're intimidated by these collection agencies, these letters that you're getting from attorney's office, sometimes we're like, oh man, I got a summon from the courthouse. What do I do? And sometimes we're so compelled to paying these debts that we feel, since it comes from an attorney's letterhead, that this is legit.
Right.
Do your research first. Don't be so quick to pay these. This is where we come in and we help clients by investigating using rules and regulations and making sure that they do have the right to do what they're doing. If they don't, then us consumers, we have rights.
Right.
And there's the Fair Debt Collectors Practice Act. There's certain things that they're not supposed to be telling you. They're not supposed to be talking to your spouse. They're not supposed to, if they open communication with you, you're supposed to be getting notices in writing right away. And 5 days from that communication, they're not supposed to be
threatening,
passing themselves as attorneys. They're not supposed to be garnishing.
Folks get intimidated, and they figure, okay, right, this is coming from.
This is the thing. What a lot of us consumers don't know is that most of these collection companies are law offices. You understand? It's easier for them because they already have it all. It's law offices. So to
cause that intimidation.
Right.
So the more educated we are, the better off. And then just don't be afraid, to...
Again, it's our right to challenge and dispute any and all information coming across on your report.
The sad thing is we have the elderly, and they're very fearful, and they prey upon them.
Folks take advantage.
Yes.
That's
I went through something recently. I told you, I'm such a victim. Okay, I need to stop.
I love it.
He's 100.
I didn't put my information too much. I have Prime. What can I say? But I dealt with a phone company recently who tried to intimidate me into, they sent me to the credit bureau, and I said, you were wrong for doing, making this. So I went to both of them, the credit report folks, the two that I have from Credit Karma. And I explained what happened, and apparently they took it off and fixed it. But I also called the phone company, and I said, listen, you cannot do this. And this is what happened. This is what happened. I said, fix it and fix it now. I end up skipping a lot of channels, but they couldn't intimidate me. But you're right. You have some elderlies or some folks who just don't know this is not in their realm. And they feel, okay, well, if you say this, that, and that, no, it's not. Investigate it, challenge it, question it.
Right. I mean, here in the city of Miramar, I'm a neighbor, by the way. I live in Pembroke Pines, so I'm right next door.
Okay, Sister City?
I used to be a Miramar.
Miramarian? Okay, and you're opening your next location in Miramar?
Right. Okay, so
because it's right here in Miramar.
Absolutely. And we're here already. But look, a lot of things is also, when it comes to a lot of us like Spanish community, that English is not the first language. They get somebody calling them, threatening them. Oh, you're going to go to court. People just they freeze in the trash. I mean, so there's a lot of that going around. That's one of the reasons why we want to create that awareness. Like Justo says, there's not enough of us.
Yeah.
Do you understand? There's never going to be enough of us. Because remember, we're fighting against these Fortune 500 companies, these multi-billion-dollar companies.
It's a business within itself. And just to add on to that, also to the listeners, remember too that there's also statute of limitations on information, which is the information being reported on your credit. So after a certain amount of time, depending on the length of time, that information, you have the right to get it deleted.
Yep.
And also
like bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy.
It's one, right? 7 years?
10.
Oh,
it can stay on there up to 10 years.
Ooh, that's ugly.
Bankruptcies and judgments.
Wow, I thought it was 7 because I had a friend who recently went through it. I could have sworn she was dealing with a 7-year.
That's also just to point that out. That's a really big misperception. Also, for example, the statute of limitations is the amount of time that any creditor can come after us for payment. Right now, in the state of Florida, based on our research, is 4 years.
4 to 5 years, depending on what it is,
they can come after you.
Promissory notes.
Okay. It's not 7 years. So a lot of us, we don't know that. So because not knowing that, we're like, okay, it's at 6. So
I have to wait another year or 2 years.
So, and again, just to throw some more in there and more clarity. So there's 2 statute of limitations. One's on information, which is information reported on your credit report. So anything with the exception of a bankruptcy is 7. A bankruptcy is 10. And then when we're talking about debt, depending if it's either oral or written, it could be from 4 to 5, including promissory notes, which are mortgages. So anything after that statute of limitation, you have a certain right. So if you have a collector that's calling you and you know that the first date of delinquency, which is the first time you stop making payments to that account, was past 5 years and you're in the state of Florida, legally they cannot sue you and they can't take you to court. So what does that mean for us? If somebody's trying to sue you, somebody's trying to throw a garnishment, somebody's trying to throw a lawsuit, that's basically illegal. And for the most part, people don't know this, and they're still paying these debts even after it's already expired.
Right.
They don't know.
Yeah, we've learned so much,
Yes,
Sherry.
absolutely.
I have a very important question before we run out of time. we have a
She has really good questions. I like it.
The time frame. We always, I think there's another misconception where we think this takes forever to fix.
Well, it depends. Everybody's situation is obviously different. Also will depend, who are you working with. At the end of the day, we like to think that we have a real solution for a real problem. And, but basically the whole purpose of our program is to get the consumer in and out as soon as possible.
To add to that, and it goes back to the same thing. It's the goal. So if you're coming to me, you have a 550 credit score, and the first question that I'm going to ask is, what's your goal? If your goal is to reach a 640 because you're interested in an FHA product to buy a home, well, then my goal is to get you 90 points.
Right.
How am I going to get there? Well, we're going to get there by establishing a new line. I'm going to tell you where to go.
Right.
We're going to get there by reducing this balance on this existing account that you have. We're going to go ahead and take on these 3-4 negative items, and the probability of success is this because of the length of time that it's been there. And all these combinations of things, I could literally tell somebody this is going to take you 60 to 90. It could take you 4 to 5 months. It could take you 8 to 10.
Right.
And setting the right expectation is where I feel personally that separates us from our competitors.
Right. The transparency.
Because again, as bad as I want somebody to get into the program, if I don't help you to reach that goal, we're not going to get any other referrals.
And
we're not going to get
misconception is not good either, because if I think, okay, you're going to be able to help me in 60 days and it's really going to take 4 or 5 months. Right.
That's a horrible experience.
That's the main reason why we have in place a free credit evaluation. Because again, if it's somebody who is not going to see the benefit in our program, I don't want to take you as a client.
Honest about. I love that. See, I love you guys because you're a little bit like nursing. We assess first before we do anything. No, it's true. You have to do an assessment because you can't just jump in and tell folks, you need to see what you're working with.
Right,
and I love that. So, gentlemen, my goodness, thank you so much for coming to Committed to Miramar.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, we had so much fun. We are here with Buildworth Strategies. Justo and Alberto.
Yes, ma'am.
Please contact them. Reach out. They have so many ways. Just Google it and something will come up.
Google literally Justo via Lobos or Buildworth Strategies. You can literally go on YouTube and put
the word credit,
repair.
and we're the first ones to come out.
And we're going to be the first ones
and
to
you
come
know
out.
where we can see you again? On August 14th at our Miramar complex at 7 p.m. because we have our property appraiser coming to tell us on how to save on our property taxes, which you all fit right into that puzzle.
So you're not only going to get how to save money in your property taxes, but also how to make it happen with the credit.
Exactly. That's on August 14th, 7 p.m. at our multi-service complex, which is 6700 Miramar Parkway. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to seeing you there, Miramarians. And gentlemen, thank you again.
Thank you so much
for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Don't run because we have to fix my problem in just a minute.
We got you, girl.
Committed to Miramar. Live, work, and play. It's right here in Miramar.